Board of Selectmen meeting for Monday, November 16th, 2020 to order. This is a Zoom meeting and it is being recorded, as is our tradition. Charlie, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance
To
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Charlie. Item 2 was public hearing to receive public comment on an ordinance to amend the code, Town of Guilford, Chapter 166 fees. Lou, would you please tee this up as it was your subcommittee?
Yeah, thanks. This was an opportunity to essentially revise and update the all the ordinances and fees that are charged down at Town Hall South. And as much as anything, the sections which are in Chapter 166 of our town ordinances, we've reorganized it into 3 main sections. So health, brush and leaf facility and engineering become one overall section. Planning and zoning, inland wetlands and administrative fees become another section. And the final section is payment of costs for services, which is a better way of saying, et cetera, or miscellaneous. But and the bottom line is we've tried to simplify these charges and organize them in a way that are going to be more user friendly. I really should add and would like to add that this was a tremendous effort by everyone down at Town Hall South, Janice, Kevin, Dennis Johnson, before he left, George, and really all the staff down there did a tremendous job pulling all this together. Sandy and Veronica were on this committee as well. And I would be remiss in not mentioning Pete Barrett, who reviewed all the materials and again helped make it as reader friendly, user friendly as I think it has finally come out. Some of the charges have gone up slightly. Some have been adjusted in a sense that there might be one charge that's slightly higher, but then that eliminates a number of subcharges. So the overall effect shouldn't necessarily be a dramatic change in what people are actually paying, but a more organized way in which they're paying it.
Good. Thank you, Lou. Any questions from any other Board of Selectmen members or comments? No. How about from the staff? Any of the staff members who Lou just mentioned, in addition to which, and I know you tried to cover this under staff, but I understand Aaron Mannix also was a strong contributor.
Yes, sorry, Aaron. My bad.
Hi, Matt. It's Janice.
Hi, Janice. Good morning.
I just want to add that, an effort was made to really simplify the fees a little more than they were before. And some of it was a little outdated in terms of cost as well. So we did try to coordinate with regard to similar fees in neighboring towns to make sure we were in line with, neighboring town fees for similar types of services or applications and such. So we did put a lot of effort into it to make it sure it was reasonable and more simplified for both staff and the customer as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Janice. Anyone else?
Hello. This is Kevin. Just going over wetlands here. Wetlands Commission did review the fees changes and approved them. The fees pretty much, as Janice and everybody indicated, trying to simplify the process. We had some fees before based on square footage of area being worked on, and we kind of came up with a price which incorporates a lot of that into it for the standard amount we've seen. So we have to do these extra calculations which go along with that, and a similar thing with our boundary clarification. Those fees made it hard for the developers and homeowners trying to figure out their fees. So we definitely try to streamline and simplify that.
Okay, no problem.
Kevin,
That's right.
Kevin,
Yes.
In yours, I think it's your section, because I kind of got confused with the numbering, but anyway, there was one section where it said significant activity. Is there any definition of that, or is that an arbitrary description?
There is a definition for that in the wetlands regulations. Significant activities when there's pretty much intensive work within the property or within the wetlands.
Okay, so it is
Which then-
defined somewhere.
Yeah, it is defined with the regulations.
Okay, I just
It
didn't know.
requires more advertising and more staff time. That's why there's a additional fee to that.
Okay. All right,
Thank you.
that's all I had, man.
Anyone else? Staff?
Can I
or-
comment on this is George, just on the wetlands, on planning and zoning, just to reiterate what we tried to do was create a simpler schedule of fees to try to correlate a little bit the fee to the amount of administrative work that might be appropriate to that particular type of application. That's a little bit hard to do, but we tried to do that a little bit. And this does not represent any kind of attempt to increase the overall fees in any significant ways, but just to kind of simplify it and make it easier to understand.
Thank you, George. Okay. All right. Is there anyone from the public who would like to comment? Hearing none, we will thank you very much for the input on that. We'll move on to public forum. Anyone wishing to address the board in public forum? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 4, approved minutes of the November 2nd, 2020 regular meeting. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second,
Charlie, thank you. Any comments, questions, changes, et cetera? Hearing none, I call the question on the adoption. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Selectman Federici,
Aye.
Selectman Haverda,
aye.
Selectwoman Ruoff,
Aye.
Selectman Hoy is also an aye. That motion carries. Thank you. Item 5, Finance Director, Mary Jane Malvasi.
Morning.
Good morning, Mary Jane.
We'll start with revenues.
Very good place to start.
All right. So our revenues are only slightly down from where we were this time last year, 51.8% as opposed to 54.3% last year. We've had some ups and downs, same ones that we talked about last month. Again, our interest rates are far below where they have been over the last few years. So that is making a significant difference in our revenues. On the plus side, the golf tournament, the golf commission has already gone over budget in their revenue, thanks to that being one of the best places to go out and get some exercise during these times. In addition to Public Works, where the stump dump revenue has exceeded its revenue, which isn't always for good reasons. It's because of storms, but both those two have exceeded revenues. Park and Rec is slightly down, and again, it's mainly due to the inability to rent out the rooms on a regular basis. If you have any questions.
I had none.
I will
Move on to expenses.
Sure. So similar story on expenses. We are practically where we were last year at this time. We're at 36.5% expended, and we were 36.1 last year. We have a couple items that are not overdrawn, but they're expended higher than you would normally see, and it's all related to the election. It's the town clerk's office, the registrar of voters office. Both are showing higher expenditures. We did receive some funding, if you remember, from the Secretary of State's office, which now that the election is over, we will be applying to those line items. So we will offset some of that overage, so to speak, in those lines. The other line item that is a little higher is the health department. Obviously, the health department has been very, very busy, but the main reason for the overage or the increase is the overlap of staffing, because it was very important for us to have Dennis and Sonia here at the same time to pass the baton, so to speak. Otherwise, do you have any questions on expenditures?
Anyone?
I'm all set.
Don't mind.
Thank you.
Okay.
Medical?
Anything on, yeah, let's go to medical.
Medical, similar story than you've heard the past few months. We are still showing our claims a little bit lower than we have estimated for this year. On the flip side, our catastrophic claims are higher than they were at this year. At last time, we're actually at November's level for catastrophic claims. And that's at 7.4% overall at the moment. Revenues are holding steady, and we are projecting an additional surplus of $680,000.
Do we still think it's a little premature to start determining whether or not there's a pent-up demand for health services that is going to draw down on that anticipated surplus? What are the consultants saying, our health insurance consultants?
Well, they are saying that it could be a few months before we know for sure. Although our medical fund is very healthy. So if there wanted to be a conversation about that, I'm sure that the fund itself could absorb a transfer out if that's what you were considering.
Matt?
Yeah,
Matt?
I agree. It still may be premature, and this may be more apropos during budget season, as we will be, as you're all aware, we are in the process of instituting the OPEB trust. In fact, we had conversation on Friday with our attorneys at Shipman and Goodwin, and we appear to be buttoning up the documents, the trust document. So I think during budget season, that may be the appropriate time to consider our 22 budget funding levels for OPEB in some form or combination of use of the surplus in this account.
As I said before, I'm glad we're moving forward with the OPEB trust that we've talked about. My inclination is to wait till after the holidays, maybe even January or February, to see if any decisions are made, and maybe we'll have a better feel for this COVID situation. So I think it's something to keep an eye on, but let's hold off to January, February, have a better picture.
I agree.
They got power line down on Church.
I think Mitch wanted to say something.
Yeah, if I could,
Mitch?
Matt? Yeah.
Yes.
Just, I had discussions with our consultant about this a little bit. And yes, there is some quote unquote pent up demand that may give us a larger amount going forward when COVID's been relaxed and people who've been holding off certain surgeries go through. However, there's also a number of appointments that have been missed, a number of dental appointments, physical appointments that are not going to be made up. People aren't going to go twice in a month because they missed one 6 months ago. So there's some of that is going to be gain revenue regardless. But you're right. We have to be careful about, presupposing that certain surgeries haven't been put off, but I don't think it's all going to be back.
Good. Thank you, Mitch.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd just like to note that, for the month of October, we were at $886,000. That's almost our budget. So obviously the claims are starting to increase.
Good. All right. Anything else, Mary Jane?
Not for that report.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
I have my next item.
Yep, item 2, discuss and take possible action to approve the resolution authorizing the first selectman to execute and deliver documents related to the fiscal year 2020 Emergency Management Performance Grant Supplemental Application. Now, that's a mouthful. Mary Jane?
So this is money that we are being offered through this program. As long as we apply for it and use it in an appropriate manner, the money is ours. The first part is for PPE for the EOC staff, and we have already begun to order that that part of the grant. So by the time we sign this grant, we'll be ready to get the money back. Phase 2 of the grant will pay to update the emergency operation plan related to pandemics. It's not quite open yet, but it is part of the document that we'll be signing. And just to note that it is 100% funded. There's no match from the town. So the state is requesting a resolution that the Board of Selectmen authorizes the town and Matt to move forward with this grant award, and that is what we are requesting today.
Any questions? Is there a motion for such authorization of the resolution?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Is there
Second.
a second, call the question. Those in favor, Selectman Federici,
Aye.
Selectman Haverda,
Aye.
Selectwoman Ruoff,
Aye.
Selectman Hoy is also an aye. That motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Jane. Item number 6, Health Director Sonia Marino. Sonia, are you on?
I don't actually see her.
I don't see her in here as well.
She was on before. I thought I saw her earlier.
Yeah.
Matt, I reached out to her about the fee ordinance to join us, and she said she's in the middle of a bit of an emergency.
Oh, okay. Okay. Item 6 is discuss and take possible action to approve the withdrawal of $2,924.63 from the escrow account for repairs at West River Village condominium. Apparently this escrow fund is held at Guilford Savings Bank for considerations such as this, which broken concrete pipe in a driveway needs to be repaired. Do people feel comfortable moving forward with this, or would you?
It seems fairly straightforward. Yeah.
I would, it doesn't seem more routine maintenance-y than fixing a pipe.
Right,
I'm okay with it.
you're okay. All right. Is there a motion
I'll move it.
and a second?
Second.
Call the question. Selectman Federici,
Aye.
Selectman Haverda,
Aye.
Selectwoman Ruoff,
Aye.
Selectman Hoy is also an aye. That motion carries. Item 7, Town Engineer Janice Blasiak. 7.1 is consider and take possible action to approve 2 easements with regard to the Sawmill Road Bridge Project, 131 Hubbard Road and 165 Sawmill Road, as well as a waiver and appraisal form, and authorize the first selectman to sign all documents related to said easements. In addition, send the easements to Planning and Zoning Commission for mandatory referral under Connecticut General Statutes 8-24, and set a town meeting date for December 7th, 2020 at 8:15 via Zoom. Is there a motion
So moved.
and a second?
Second.
Janice, you just want to give us a little background on this? This is the Sawmill River Bridge project, right?
Right, we're moving forward with the project, getting ready to bid soon. And as part of the project, there is the need to acquire easements from both a town-owned property, which has the address of 131 Hubbard Road, as well as a private property on Sawmill Road at 165. And these easements are necessary for construction, for slope rights, as well as the town easement includes a drainage easement because we have a drainage discharge that'll go across the town property to discharge to the river. The town has received all permits from all the regulatory agencies involved, as well as, at the state and federal level. And we have received sign off and signatures from the property owner at 165 Sawmill Road to waive the appraisal and fee, as well as to dedicate the easement to the town. And need to have these easements in place in order to move forward with the project for bidding.
Thank you, Janice. Just a quick note, and, Janice or Pete, you want to comment on this? One of these properties actually belongs to the town of Guilford, and we're granting ourselves an easement on property we already own.
Right.
Just a sort of an unusual situation, but.
Well, because it is a parcel that the town owns, and it's separate from the road right of way. So if for some reason in the future, the town decides to sell this parcel, then the easement still remains with the land. So that's kind of the reasoning behind it.
Okay, so it fixes that sliver of ground to the road right of way, regardless of what happens.
It doesn't fix it to the road. It just gives the rights for the road to be maintained and the drainage maintained onto that private property. So it's an easement only, it's not a taking.
Okay, got it.
I'm assuming with all of these easements and everything, any potential issues we had in the past with I guess it isn't really DEP here, but we got ourselves covered with not going over by a few feet and all of those kinds of things with all of there's so many easements here without seeing a map. I'm assuming we're covering ourselves in all of those potential issues.
Well, these are easements for rights to do work on private property, which is owned by the town and another, the cones on the other side.
Of measurements where
Right.
we could potentially be a few feet off and get ourselves in trouble.
Well, this project will be done with a hired contractor with engineering oversight with a full engineering firm. If you recall, we hired a WMC to be our on-site inspectors for this project. And all these easements and limits of work will be laid out using surveyors and such prior to the beginning of work. So it'll be
Okay, appreciate
contained.
All right.
Janice, I understand that the town's obviously waiving compensation, not paying itself. I don't see anything with regard to the payment to the private landowner.
Yes, they've already signed the waiver of appraisal and compensation form. Yes.
Well, that's citizen.
Yes, we typically do ask that residents, when we're doing a town project on town roads, that they not be compensated. It's a requirement of the state DOT that compensation be made or a waiver be received. So it's typically when we have these projects where we have outside funding from either the state or the federal government. In this case, it's the federal government being managed by DOT, that people have the right for appraisal and compensation. But our policy has typically been that we try not to go down that road of having to pay people for easements.
Yeah, terrific. Great.
Yep.
Thank you. Anything further?
No, do you need a motion?
Yeah, yep.
I'll move it.
Lou or Sandy?
Second. Sure.
Good.
Of course.
Call the question. Selectman Federici,
Aye.
Selectman Haverda,
Aye.
Selectwoman Ruoff,
Aye.
Selectman Hoy is also an aye. Motion carries. Thank you. 7.2, consider and take possible action on 2 drainage easements for existing stormwater discharges located at 885 Nut Plains Road and 2 Woodland Road, and authorize the first selectman to sign all related documents. In addition, send the easements to the Planning and Zoning Commission for mandatory referral under Connecticut General Statutes 8-24 and set a town meeting date for December 7th, 2020 at 8:15 a.m. via Zoom. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. Janice?
So these are actually come out of planning and zoning actions for subdivision approvals. In the subdivision of the land in question, which came through the Planning and Zoning Commission, it was found that there was already stormwater discharges onto these lands, and we wanted to formalize some of the rights that we feel we will need going forward for future maintenance of these drainage easements and structures.
Any questions? Comments?
So it's going to be another Zoom meeting related to easements and property use.
Correct.
Okay. Did the neighbors, just procedurally, Matt, do you know, did the neighbors get notice of that directly? Like, are there letters that go out, or is this the notice?
Janice?
I'm not sure why neighbors would be necessarily identified. These are direct property impacts. So my understanding would be the notice is what's needed. With regard to these two easements, it was the property owner has already signed off on the easement because they were a requirement by planning and zoning for their subdivision approval, and the fact that these drainage structures already exist and discharge onto these properties.
So this is just one additional step in an ongoing process that everybody's aware of what's happening.
Right, we're trying to formalize some of the rights we have, we probably have prescriptive rights for these drainage structures and all that, but when you have the opportunity to formalize these things under a subdivision process or otherwise, it's always good to have things clarified
Gotcha.
on land records.
Sounds good.
Excellent. Anything further? Let me try your minds. Selectman Federici,
Aye.
Selectman Haverda,
Aye.
Selectwoman Ruoff,
Aye.
Selectman Hoy is also an aye. That motion carries. Janice, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 8, Board of Director of Operations Facilities, Cliff Gurnham. 2 items on the agenda. Good morning, Cliff. Item 1 is discuss and take possible action to award A&E design of the Cox HVAC system to Silver Petrocelli and Associates. Cliff?
Good morning. Thank you very much. So, yeah, we have 2 design proposals that we're going over today, or 2 projects. So Cox HVAC project is very similar to the Melissa Jones HVAC project, which we just completed. It's a complete replacement of all the HVAC, air handlers, boilers, and associated equipment, pumps and motors and that type of thing. We received 2 proposals from the on-call list of architects and engineers, Antonazzi and Silver Petrocelli. After review from the Standing Building Committee, they recommended awarding the work to Silver Petrocelli and Associates in the amount of $48,060.
Thank you, Cliff. Any questions?
Yeah, I'll move it for discussion. I do have one question though. Cliff, the next item seems to be a very similar item for lakes. Do we ever ask the question, is there any value to them getting both contracts? Do we get any quantity discount or whatever?
We often do ask that.
I mean, it's got to be fairly similar as far as the equipment. I can appreciate the installation will be different, but I mean, we're buying potentially $100,000 worth of equipment.
So when we do the project itself, and we have bids on the equipment, so the actual construction bids, we often ask if there's a discount to award to the same construction company. As far as discounts with the HVAC design work, we also ask that same question. Silver Petrocelli is very competitive, as you can see from the 2 proposals. So they're very aggressive on their numbers to start with. So there's no real room to move too much, by a double award. Antonazzi had a little more incentive to award to them for both projects, but still their number was much higher. So we do ask that question, yes.
Okay.
Good. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any further comments or questions? The only one I had is, Cliff, you mentioned that this was, one of it's a companion to the project that we awarded earlier this year, under the COVID guidelines where we approved the capital purchase. This is the second of those?
No, this one here, Cox, actually, you're talking about as far as the funding is concerned?
Yes.
So Cox was approved, I believe, in 2019.
That's right. Okay.
So this one is all set. It's the Guilford Lakes one that we're looking at getting approved in 2021 coming up.
Gotcha. All right. I'm one item ahead of myself.
Yep.
All right. Anything further? Call the question. Selectman Federici,
Aye.
Selectman Haverda,
Aye.
Selectwoman Ruoff,
Aye.
Selectman Hoy is also an aye. Motion carries. All right. 8.2, consider and take possible action to award A&E design of the Guilford Lakes HVAC system to Silver Petrocelli and Associates. Is there a motion?
I'll move it again.
And a second?
Second.
Good. All right, Cliff.
Right, so this is very similar to the Cox and Melissa Jones projects, where it's a complete replacement of all the HVAC work, our equipment throughout the school, including motors, pumps, VFDs, and boilers. So again, this was reviewed by the Standing Building Committee. We had the two proposals again from Antonazzi and Silver Petrocelli. The Standing Building Committee, after review, recommended awarding it to Silver Petrocelli and Associates for $49,910.
Excellent. All right, so now my question. This was the second of the two projects, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Correct. So
That we
this is,
identified.
we do have funding for the design work.
That's
As
my
far
question.
as the construction funding, we will be asking for that in the April 2021 bond request.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I had the same question because it was a little confusing. So what we're approving today, we do have the funds for already. It's for the A&E part.
Correct, yes.
Thank you.
So Cliff, the guidelines that were established by the governor's executive order relative to capital expenditure approval, where we had the Board of Selectmen recommend to the Board of Finance approval of emergency type projects without having to go to referendum. One was deemed to be essential and in dire need or emergency. Has this one now moved to that category?
I think the Board of Ed is pushing it into that category, yes, because of the number of equipment failures and problems throughout the school. So they've essentially moved this project up. Originally, I think I had it scheduled for 2022, but it's been pushed up because of the number of issues and concerns throughout the school.
Okay. Good. All right. Anything further of Cliff?
Nope.
Well, let me try your minds. Selectman Federici,
Aye.
Selectman Haverda,
Aye.
Selectwoman Ruoff,
Aye.
Selectman Hoy is also an aye. That motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cliff. Item 9, Golf Course Commission. 9.1 is to consider and take possible action on a request from the Guilford, the Golf Course Commission to pave the clubhouse parking lot. Brittany, are you on? Brittany.
Coming through.
There you go. Britt. Good morning.
Good morning.
Britt, would you give us a little bit of background on this project, the funding, the need? And, I know this is something that has come up in the last couple of budget cycles as a capital project, but why don't you go ahead?
So the golf course, we would like to get it paved because it doesn't just increase the experience. It's a standard, a paved golf course parking lot is standard among golf courses because it protects the golfers' cleats. It also protects the course from pebbles and stones being brought onto the course. Like you said, we have asked for this in the past. I believe it was asked for the past 3 years on the capital expense. But this year we have a large anonymous donation. We've also done some fundraising. The reason why we're asking for your help is because of the time crunch to raise the additional funds. We have a bid for $19,500. We have an anonymous donation for $10,000, and we've raised $2,700 in other funding. So we're $6,800 short, and that's what we're coming to you for. We've raised 65% of the cost ourselves, but the time crunch is that the donor said they're going to pull their money in April 2021 if we can't complete the job. And the bid that we got, which is extremely low, it's less than half of our other bids almost, said that that price is also only good until April 2021. And so this is why we're seeking your help.
Okay. Thank you. Questions for Brett?
How is it that
Well-
that contractor is willing to do that for so cheap? I mean, it seems like all the construction businesses are flat out at the moment. I mean, I think it's fantastic, but I just want to make sure we're getting exactly what we're paying for.
The difference between this bid and the other bids, and we've asked around contractors to see if we want to make sure that what we're spending the money on is still valuable, and they confirm that it is that the other bids are 2-layer and this is a 1.5 layer. So they come out and they pave it once and then they come back and they pave it again. This one, they're going to pave the 2 layers at one time. So it's the same width, it's just one time coming out. That was my understanding of the price difference.
I struggle with it just, on many levels, but to avoid the personal level, I remember when I was on P&Z, we always struggled with any developer who wanted to have increase the impervious area. And I noticed our next item on the agenda is the Sustainable Task Force expanding their efforts. And I know in P&Z, we always struggled with this. Has any thought been put into this as far as drainage and increasing the impervious area on public property?
I haven't personally heard any discussion about it. I know that we've had people come out and look at it, and there was no complications or reasons not to that were explained to me from anybody that came out and checked the area. There's no drainage issues.
Have you run this by P&Z?
No, not them specifically, just the people that do this professionally. We're taking their opinion on it.
Matt, does this require P&Z approval?
I
Even a parking lot?
I would say yes, probably does. Kevin or?
I could speak to it. I can
Yeah.
check on terms of whether it needs a formal approval from P&Z, but with regard, if they're just paving the existing gravel area, the likelihood of water runoff is going to be very similar. Compacted gravel basically acts as an impervious surface. So it's not, really going to increase any water flow from the parking area as long as the limits are pretty much the same. And we can let, I'll talk with George Crawl and Aaron to see if it needs to formally get approval from P&Z and let them know.
Okay.
I would also sort of just generally observe that there's grass on the west side of the parking lot, a little buffer there. Obviously, there's grass on the east side as you get toward the golf course itself, although it slopes down toward the west. And there's a curb and I think a little grass strip between the road itself and where the edge of the driveway would be. I imagine that's how they would end up doing it. I have been reluctant to do this in the past because it was so expensive, but I mean, you've driven the cost down, as you say, by half and managed to fundraise 2/3, which shows real initiative. And you make a compelling argument that there's some maintenance benefit in addition to the just sort of general preference to have a paved parking lot, which does sort of give a little better appeal. So, I mean, on all fronts, I'm sort of impressed. You guys have worked super hard to pull together a challenging problem, and make this, make this request at this point for this amount in a year where there's some money coming out of the operation to boot.
Thank you.
Well, on that
I-
note, I do have to compliment you, in getting this project moved as far as you have. I still struggle with, and I can appreciate you're having a good year, but, I hope it's just not a COVID aberration and that, this is not, I don't know. We know we've talked about the long-term financial health and well-being of the golf course, and I don't know if we can take the past year as an accurate measure of the changes you've made. Hopefully, more going forward. My question now becomes, and you've done really good, and I compliment you in getting this worked through in finances. Is there any logic to just taking advantage of the donations and not expending any public capital? I mean, is there a way to do a partial, or does any of that make any sense? Normally I would not want to go this direction, but paving a parking lot in these times just is a real head scratcher for me.
Where's the copies I just gave you?
Well, I just want to explain that I don't know how we would cut it off into pieces it is a small area to pave it, because you really come in, like you said, on the east side and you're playing on the west side. So you're really occupying the entire parking lot. But to your point, we are not taking this year for COVID for granted. We're still doing everything we can to cut the costs, and we have some really big ideas that I don't want to talk about now. I don't think it's the right time to, and also I want to make sure all my ducks are in a row before I present this to you. But we're not taking it for granted, and I want you to rest assured we still are working very hard to make this a continuous, ongoing process of generating revenue each and every year.
Okay, just asking you to explore everything you can. I compliment you on your efforts for this past year. I struggle with it, but
Charlie, I had a thought, not to just think this thing out loud and step on the committee's hard work, but I mean, possibly we authorize up to $6,800, and if they can continue fundraising and come up with another 1,000 or 2 or 3, then they only spend.
Yeah, I'd encourage anything like that. I mean, I'm trying to be supportive, but it's really a struggle for me.
This is a year where every single thing has to be considered very cautiously. But for the reasons I laid out for this thing, and which I was really strongly opposed to
I just don't see how a $6,000. I can appreciate taking advantage of the donations, and I thank those people, and I thank all the efforts of the Golf Course Commission. I just struggle with the claim that this is going to improve the function of the golf course. I mean, it just, if you got trouble with gravel getting into the grass, well, okay, pave a sidewalk or put a boardwalk in or something with the donations to make it a break so that they have to walk over something to get rid of some pebbles. But I mean, I don't see how paving a parking lot is going to improve the viability of this golf course compared to other golf courses. I just really struggle with that.
I kind of concur with all the points that Lou made. I also didn't support the money in the past in the capital budget, but there's precedence in many departments and town projects where there's been partial fundraising, and then the town supports it either with in-kind services or with some actual dollars. So this is not that out of line to be. This concept has worked in the past, and I like what Lou said. I really support the 6,800, and if by chance the commission, a few more donations come in, that's great. And then that will reduce the amount that we have. But I think the commission in the last 2 years has really worked hard, and I do believe they're thinking beyond COVID. And we all talk about that this is a lovely resource for the town. I think it's gotten much more publicity in the last 2 years, and I would like to see this going forward. One question I have for either Mary Jane or Matt, where would this, if we do approve this money, where would we take it from?
Mary Jane, you have any thoughts?
Sorry, too many computers, I can't find my buttons. We would most likely expend it through the capital lines within the budget. We often have some pluses and minuses in those areas, and we probably absorb it by the end of the year. Otherwise, we would need to transfer from some other line item.
Okay.
What other line item?
I wouldn't know until the end of closer to the end of the year, when we do our year-end transfers.
Okay, I share similar sentiments to those that have been shared earlier. I had difficulty with the size of the expenditure when proposed over the last couple of years, particularly given the direction that the golf course was going in. I also want to congratulate Britt and the rest of the commission in terms of having turned some things around. And I understand, the desire to have that course and that parking lot cleaned up, if you will. At the original price tag, I wasn't sure that it would create as much value, particularly at that price point. But the fact that we're looking at an opportunity that doesn't come along very often, what are the opportunity costs that are going to be avoided here because we're not taking advantage of the 12,000. So even dropping it down to the 1.5 course paving, cut the cost in half. But we're looking at over $12,000 because I think probably at some point we are going to need to pave that facility and or do some major rehab of that parking lot. So my concern is we're losing the opportunity to take advantage of the private money and the donations. So, but Charlie, I also understand your uncomfortability. As I said, I shared with you the sentiment that I wasn't sure that $40,000 investment was worth it, given the direction the golf course is going in. But the turnaround, albeit through COVID, is certainly heartwarming and encouraging that perhaps we've introduced another generation of golfers to the Guilford Lakes course. So I can go either way on this relative to deciding on it today. I know there's a question about planning and zoning requirement and
Well,
the impact.
I'll move it, based on as long as P&Z is okay with it and all of that type of thing. And, to your point, Matt, while I do struggle with it, the bottom line is getting that parking lot done for effectively 6,000, around number 6,000 or less. I mean, I spent more than that getting my driveway done. So, to Matt's point, we're taking advantage of a situation, doing something that I'm not in love with. So I'll move it.
And I'll second that, Charlie. Thank you for that. Thank you.
All right, let me try your minds. Selectman Federici.
Aye.
Selectman Haverda.
Aye.
Selectwoman Ruoff.
Aye, and my driveway costs more than that too.
Selectman Hoy is an aye, and thanks for letting me know what I'm in for because I probably need a driveway in the next couple of years.
Thank you, everyone.
Hey, Britt, can you
Keep up the fundraising.
I'll see if I can get bulk.
There you go.
Thank you. And thank you, Janice and Mary Jane, for your input too. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe.
You're welcome.
That
Nice
is
work.
on the condition of P and Z and all of that, though, the motion. right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that your point is a good one, Charlie.
All right, thank you all. Item 10, act on a request from the Sustainable Guilford Task Force to expand its charge. As we've been working, I've been working with the folks on the Sustainable Task Force. They wanted to make sure that they weren't overstepping their bounds, because we originally put them in place to obtain the sustainable certification, statewide certification. So this gives us an opportunity to broaden their perspective. They are going to stay in place. We're having some discussions prior to Pam Millman's retirement about making this a full-fledged commission or board. At this point, we're going to keep it as a task force. So I think it's important for us to make sure that task force charge is clearly enumerated. And I think you have in front of you the wording: the Sustainable Guilford Task Force is advisory to the Board of Selectmen, in charge of guiding town boards, commissions, and departments to further advance principles of sustainability, equity, environmental stewardship within and beyond our community, while fostering community support. Shoreline SGTF is further charged with pursuing continued growth and recognition through ongoing certification at the highest level developed by Sustainable CT. One of the things that we are working on with the Sustainable Guilford Task Force is sustainable purchasing policies. I think you were all treated to a presentation by Howard Brown at one point. So we are actually rolling some of that into our purchasing policies. And there are also some other opportunities that they would like to pursue particularly as it relates to solid waste reduction, and a couple of those areas. So is there a motion to expand the charge as defined in the document in front of you and what I just read?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Comments or questions? Call the question. Selectman Federici,
Aye.
Selectman Haverda,
Aye.
Selectwoman Ruoff,
Aye.
Selectman Hoy is also an aye, and thank you. Item 11, consider and take possible action on an ordinance to amend the Town of Guilford, Chapter 166, as a result of the earlier public hearing. Is there a motion?
I'll move it.
And a second?
Second.
Before we go to the vote, Lou, thank you very much for guiding the task force on this. This is the second major renovation. The building, which we probably should have mentioned in the hearing, the building department upgrade or update was of equal importance and significant a task. So thank you to you and the task force and all the staff members for pulling this together. Anyone have any comments or questions on the question here? No? Let me try your mind. Selectman Federici.
I'm in favor.
You should be. Selectman Haverda.
Aye.
Selectwoman Ruoff.
Aye.
Selectman Hoy is also an aye. Once again, Lou, thanks for your efforts. And there's only fire department left, right? Is that
Yeah, yes. But
okay? All right. Item 12, appointments and resignation. 12.1 is to act on a recommendation to appoint Patricia Keegan to the Tree Advisory Board as a Conservation Commission representative to fill a vacancy for a term to expire February 28, 2021. Is there a motion?
moved. So
And a
moved.
second. And a second. Good. Let me try your minds. Selectman Federici.
Aye.
Selectman Haverda.
Aye.
Selectwoman Ruoff.
Aye.
Selectman Hoy is also an aye. That motion carries. Item 13, request for use of town properties. 13.1, act on a request from the Guilford Arts Center to place a sign on the green advertising its Artistry 2020, taking place October 1 to January 4th. Sign placement 12/1 to 12/15. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Let me try your minds. Selectman Federici.
Aye.
Selectman Haverda.
Aye.
Selectwoman Ruoff.
Aye.
Selectman Hoy is also an aye. That motion carries. Item 14, correspondence. Anybody have anything they were looking to share? No. 15, committee reports.
Well, can I circle back to, since it's a public works report, there's something I wanted to almost mention in the public meeting on this, related to some of the, like the noise kind of got my attention. A lot of the noise would be, other than the trucks driving in and out, which is no different from what already occurs on adjacent to a road. Like the work that's done is largely done inside. I mean, these are big elaborate garages, but obviously the work that takes place at Public Works, for the most part, is going on inside. Is that, do we still have,
Lou, that is correct.
Yeah.
As I think Gary mentioned, you know, the loading of trucks with sand and salt and stuff with the, you know, when they're backing up and making noise and lights and that kind of stuff at nighttime, that would be an inconvenience, but that certainly is not an inconvenience when it's time to put your truck on, or your car on the road and you need to get somewhere.
Sure.
But we understand, you know.
there's a legitimate questions, but there is a legitimate answer, which
Agreed.
is a lot of that takes place inside. And the 22 acres, which was one of the questions, does give an opportunity for a fair amount of buffer.
I think there is some, as Kevin will attest, and Gary did already, there is some natural buffer that's going to be created because of wetlands.
Yeah, we don't have any choice.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
anyway,
there's a good distance of wetlands between the residence property and the developable area of the property there. I think it's probably at least 100, maybe even more, closer to 200 feet probably.
right. I'm not by any stretch of the imagination dismissing the concern. Those are valid concerns and
Oh, absolutely.
raised, but there are really some good answers to those concerns. And I just want to make sure we have multiple chances to convey that, and we do.
Good. Thank you. Committee reports. Sandy, anything?
No.
Sandy, I did reach out to George Crawl, and I think I may have copied you. One of the other things that the Sustainable Guilford Task Force is looking at will be electric vehicle charging throughout town and opportunities to put those in place. And it occurred to me that perhaps the affordable housing, or the term that I'm coming to based on a couple of subcommittees that I'm on with CCM and cost, is workplace housing, right?
Yeah.
Changing the definition. But why wouldn't we consider building in some kind of EV capacity, EV charging capacity? And as I look at my screen, the guy that I know that uses it most often, Lou, plugs in at town hall when he used to come here for meetings. Unfortunately, he's not doing as much of that. But so I've asked that they consider adding that to their scope, because that's what is that? That's one of the green stamp projects that they're going to build to anyway. And then secondly, I asked Chris Widmer for the cottages development up on State Street, if he would consider them as well. They are also building to green efficiency standards, and they had not contemplated that. So I put him in touch with some folks, some statewide resources that I have access to through CCM, and they're going to be looking at charging stations as well. So that's the only update on the workplace housing.
Okay, so I don't think I got that memo. I did, at least I don't recall seeing it, but did George answer you about it?
Yeah,
Did he?
Yes, he did. He is going to reach out to NeighborWorks.
Okay. All right, I don't need to see it. I just wanted to, because George would be reaching out to them other than myself anyway, but I'm fine with it, and I'll follow up with George. It's okay.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Matt, let me say one more thing about those charging stations. As you have observed, I do use the one behind Town Hall when I'm there. We had gotten that installed in part with a grant from somewhere. And the condition of the grant was it had to be no charge to the public for a certain period of time. But of course, our town, paying attention to the details, switched it over to a charge, a modest charge, an appropriate charge, but it's an app-based system that makes it really easy. And you go and you pay per kilowatt, just as you would do if you're getting any other, additional transportation out of your vehicle. It like completely makes sense. At this point, the vehicles are not the limiting factor. The availability of charging stations is the limiting factor, and anything we can do to increase the number of points, not charity, but just availability. People would happily pay for it. They should happily pay for that. So anyway, thanks for bringing it up and staying on top of it.
You got it. Gary?
Yeah, I was on the. Lou, it
Oh, we
was
lost you,
state.
Gary.
Am I there now?
Yeah,
You're
better.
there now.
Okay, it was state funding that provided it with the agreement. The other places we probably ought to consider it is the community center, if we build a new parking lot, and maybe the library, which are both sort of destination places where people someday might stay for a while.
Sometimes you only need 40 minutes. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the communities that are participating in that task force that I'm on are looking at workplace charging, right? Unfortunately, I'm not sure we have, outside of the one at Town Hall, which covers a couple of both Town Hall and Town Hall South. I'm not sure we have the density that some of the other larger communities are doing. Stanford has their own parking garage for their employees, so they're looking at putting in those kind of facilities. Same thing in the city of Hartford. But nonetheless, I think we need to take a look at the opportunities throughout town, and see where it would be an appropriate fit. So,
Listen, I'm sorry you scratched the surface on this, and now I won't stop and everybody's indulgence. But there's an article that I cut out of the Wall Street Journal. Counterintuitively, one of the absolutely best potential uses for electric vehicles is heavy municipal equipment. Okay,
Yep.
People that have short loops, short's the wrong word, closed loops, all within a certain distance of the charging stations. And as I said a minute ago, the power of these things is not even remotely the issue. They have, in fact, have better low end torque. They operate better. And for a municipal use like dump trucks and plows and those sort of things, they're absolutely perfect. And in the future, and by the future, I mean no more than 10 or 20 years, diesel municipal trucks will be history.
right.
And so I know that sounds like a little bit of a long shot, but it's coming. The manufacturers are getting there, and whatever we can do to sort of keep it moving in the right direction, I think is appropriate.
I'd agree, Lou. And then apropos of our earlier discussion at the town meeting, I would assume that there would be an EV charging station at the new Public Works facility if we're fortunate enough to put one up there in the next couple of years.
Sure.
Not only for employees, but also for the vehicles.
Right.
It's my understanding the police department is moving forward with their purchase. Will be purchasing hybrids for their fleet. And also I have issued a directive that any new town vehicles that are purchased need to seriously consider hybrid or electric where appropriate. And I will not approve or recommend to you the purchase of a vehicle if we haven't gone through the exercise of looking at the availability of electric vehicles for that particular need.
Yeah.
Okay, anything old business? New business? Public forum? Hearing none. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Wait a minute, I thought we had
Oh,
something.
You had to add to the agenda.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
It's under new business.
Yeah, that's right. My apologies. I was looking at my paper copy. Hold on. This is Kevin. That's why Kevin stayed on as long as he did. I should have figured there was a reason.
It was a good meeting today. Come on.
Kevin,
you are
need
a politician, Kevin.
All right, we're adding an item to the agenda under new business, and that is request for funding for tree removal services. Kevin?
So things are getting busy with the tree department here. Coming off of storms and back into hazardous tree and dead tree removal along the side of the roads here. And The first one I have coming in is a group of trees for removal up on Long Hill Road near New England Road at the intersection there. There's a large clump of dead, dying trees there. Sent out pricing from 3 vendors there, A&L Tree Experts, Bartlett Tree Experts, and Don's Landscaping Services. In your package, you didn't get Bartlett because I got theirs in later on Friday afternoon. A&L was $10,890. Bartlett came in at $6,500. Don's Landscaping was $11,250. So I'm recommending that we go with Bartlett Tree Experts in this case here. I'm also requesting sort of a waiver of purchasing policy, maybe to allow Matt, because there's going to be a bunch of these probably coming in the next couple of months like this, to allow Matt to approve the multiple bids up to, and I actually double checked the purchasing policy. Let's say go equal with that up to the $25,000. Allow Matt to approve multiple bids I get. So I'm not in front of you every couple of weeks with these approvals.
Okay, let's take those as separate questions. The first of which is the award of the contract to Bartlett. And what'd you say the amount was, Kevin?
6,500.
6,500. That's significantly lower than the other two.
Yeah, I was shocked to see that come down lower there.
Wow.
But,
Wow.
I mean, it's just the market right now, and
Yeah. And
Bartlett's been,
that's coming from a large corporate entity as opposed to the other two, which are smaller.
correct.
outfits, right?
Yep. Yes.
Got it. All right. Is there a motion to approve the awarding the contract to Bartlett for $6,500?
So moved.
And a
Second.
second. Call the question. Let me try your minds. Selectman Federici,
Aye.
Selectman Haverda,
Aye.
Selectwoman Ruoff,
Aye.
Selectman Hoy is also an aye. Okay, Kevin, as to the request for a waiver, and allowing me to sign up to the 25,000, is that out of need for haste to get stuff done quickly? What's the rationale here?
Yeah, to get the stuff done more quickly, so we're not having these hazards sitting there a longer period of time for couple week period there in between.
Okay, Kevin, you're probably not asking for a waiver on the 3 bids though, correct?
Correct. No, it's going to be still the 3 to 4 bids out there, like the purchasing policy is up to the 7,500. Just allow it further so the I don't keep coming to the group here.
Gotcha. All right, just stay for the record, this is not a power grab by the selectman's office here. And I can go either way on this. Kevin will continue to get the 3 bids. And then we'll apply the same rationale that was applied today. So is there a motion?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
any comments or questions or concerns? Hearing none, let me try your minds. Selectman Federici,
Aye.
Selectman Haverda,
Aye.
Selectwoman Ruoff,
Aye.
Selectman Hoy is also an aye. Kevin, thank you very much.
Thank you all. Thanks.
All right, that was new business, right? Public forum. Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make the
So
motion.
moved. Second.
Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Bye, everyone. Stay
Thank you
safe.
all.